Talking with the experts.
Join Randy Crane, the fearless marketer, as he discusses strategies for sales success, customer-centric approaches, and responsible marketing in episode 521.
You see, this is what I'm saying, is that, we see technology changing, but human beings don't evolve at the same rate because we're not learning from data. We're learning from the people that came before us. Your mother and father taught you. And as you grew, you now know more than they do. Okay. But you have to reach that point of mass in your life, that critical point where there's a balance point there, the humility of it. Okay. And then you move on from it. But it's that bridge between, and that's, I don't know. I mean, I don't know about you, Rose, but when I was 20 years old, I knew everything. I had all the answers to every question.
Didn't we all? We had all the answers when we were 6.
Yeah. And you know what? It's funny because as I got to become an older man, I started to realize that the older I got, the smarter my father got. Okay.
Talking with the experts.
Welcome to Talking with the Experts, where we believe that success is a journey, and every journey is easier with help from friends. That's why we bring you top-notch experts and real business heroes eager to share their lessons from the road to success. We delve into new topics each week: effective marketing strategies, innovative problem-solving, financial planning, and team building. We tackle everything you need to know to grow your business and keep it thriving. Whether you dream about launching your first startup or a business veteran looking to shake things up, we've got you covered. With each episode, you'll gain knowledge, boost your confidence, and be inspired to take action. So, grab a coffee, make yourself comfortable, and join our exciting journey. You're not alone in this. We're here, guiding you, cheering for you, and celebrating each milestone. Let's turn your business dreams into reality, starting today. Here is your host, Rose Davidson.
Hello, welcome to Talking with the Experts. I'm your host, Rose Davidson from rosedavidson.com. Talking with the Experts is all about business by business owners for business owners. You can find it on all good podcasting streaming platforms and on YouTube. Now, today my guest is Randy Crane, and Randy's going to be discussing with us emotion-driven marketing, and I'm sure he's got some stories to tell about how we can use that in our businesses on a day-to-day basis. Now, Randy is affectionately known as the fearless marketer, and he's a nationally acclaimed sales and marketing expert with over 40 years of experience with many global brands and startups. He is passionate about leadership and emotional marketing strategies that deliver real value to customers and impact businesses. Randy is a mentor, a visionary, and a true master of his craft, inspiring others to reach for greatness and achieve their dreams. And I can't wait to hear what Randy has to say. Welcome, Randy. Thank you so much for Talking with the Experts today.
Rose, thank you so much for having me on your show. You know what? I'm really excited to do this show with you.
Wonderful. Now, you were telling me a story before we went live. So perhaps you'd like to share that again about your man who was a truck driver who went to be a warehouse manager and then decided to start a software company. That's very intriguing.
Well, it all kind of started. It turns out that one of his salespeople was a friend of mine. And he was talking to the owner of the company. He said, you really should talk to Randy. He knows lots about sales. And he says, and he's a great trainer. So they turned around. The owner turned around and called me up and he said, listen, he said, maybe you can help me train my salespeople. And I said, all right. I said, well, I don't know whether I can or not, but I said, let's have a conversation about it and see where that goes. So one of the first questions I ask is normally how do you, I always find it interesting how people wind up in a job. One guy will turn around and he'll be working on a garbage truck. Well, nobody wakes up in the morning and says, I'm going to go work on a garbage truck. So I like to find that backstory. Okay. So I told him, I said, tell me the backstory. So he did. He said, well, I run a software company today. And I said, oh, that's good. And what are your sales like? And he said, well, sales been okay. He says, last year we did about $100,000. And I said, well, for a software company, that's not really a lot of money. And he says, no, I know we want to build that up. And I said, okay. I said, what did you do before that? He says, I said before that, I said, how long have you been in business? He said, about 4 years. And then I said, and what did you do before that? He says, well, I ran a warehouse for a guy. I said, so I was in the logistics business. And I said, okay, how long were you doing that for? He said, a couple of years. I said, what did you do before that? He says, well, I was a trucker. And I said, well, how long did you do that for? He said, about 15 years. I said, so let me see if I get this straight. You're trucker turned warehouse worker or warehouse manager, for a couple of years, turned software. And he says, yeah, that's right. So I said to him, what do you know about sales? And, he started off by saying, well, I went out and I do my own sales and but as we drilled down, and we started asking, where'd you get your training from and all this, we found out that actually he really has no experience in selling. And I said, and who's training your salespeople? He says, well, I do. And I thought, what, that's a really interesting conversation because it's kind of like blind leading the blind. So when I come back and I look at a sales figure after 3 or 4 years in business, and you're doing $100,000 a year, and nobody's making any money, now I know why. And I got to thinking about this before I came on this show, and I was thinking, you know what? There's so many businesses that follow under the same principle. Not businesses, but small businesses. Okay? You know what? A company buys a franchise from a small vendor. Okay? A small restaurant chain. And, I see this a lot in restaurants. They'll turn around and say, well, you know what? If I say to the restaurant, what's the most important thing about your business? They always tell me the same thing. It's always about the food. And unfortunately, it's never about the food. It's never about the food. What it is about is it's about the experience. It's about the experience that your customers have. So what is it really all about? It's not really about you. As a matter of fact, it's about everybody else but you. It's about your customer. And it's the experience that your customer has when you deliver what you deliver. So what does that come down to? What is experience all about? Okay, well, experience is about 2 things. It's about engaging with that experience, but it's to engage with it at an emotional level. Every human being in the world is emotionally engaged with their problems in life, with their wants, their needs, their desires, their dreams. Everybody's emotionally engaged. Yet we go through this 1980 propaganda, and I'm sure, Rose, you've seen this 1,000 times yourself. Hi, Rose, my name is Randy, and I'm with XYZ Company. We have the best people, the best price, the best product. We have the best delivery. We have the best warranty. We got the best prices. Blah, blah, blah. Nobody cares about that. So if they don't care about that, what do they care about? Well, people care about being inspired. And with the statement I just gave you, there's absolutely nothing inspiring about it. Yet, at least once or twice a month, you talk to a salesperson and he gives you that exact pitch. So if you're going to sell somebody, or you're going to market to somebody, make it engaging. Okay? Make it engaging. Make it emotionally inspiring. Because the blah, blah, blah is not going to inspire somebody to buy from you.
Mm. Yeah,
it's the inspiration. True. Look, man, you know what? You have to get and put yourself into the customer's shoes. And this is where empathy comes in. An empathetic salesperson is going to be the wealthiest salesperson on the street. Okay? The guy who doesn't care about empathy and just goes through the routine is going to wind up broke. And this is not a statistic that I just created. This has been going on for probably 30, 40 years. But you see, we're always in a situation, you know what, I'm taking over the whole conversation here. I'm so sorry.
That's perfectly fine, because what you're delivering is absolutely gold. And your knowledge is absolutely amazing. And please continue. You tell great stories.
Well, you know, it's interesting because, I'm 64 years old. I came up in the 80s. Okay. And, the one thing I learned about sales and marketing and really education in general is the fact that we're always about 30 years behind. Okay. The old days of the Fuller brush and the vacuum cleaners salesperson sticking their foot in your door. Those days were done in the 60s, but it was still going on in the late 80s. The acronyms, the ABC, always be closing, and the FAB, features, advantages, and benefits. Those selling symposiums, those pros were around in the 80s or in the 70s, but people are still using them today. And that's what, 50 years ago? You see, this is what I'm saying is that, we see technology changing, but human beings don't evolve at the same rate, because we're not learning from data, we're learning from the people that came before us. Your mother and father taught you. And as you grew, you now know more than they do. Okay. But you have to reach that point of mass in your life, that critical point where there's a balance point there, the humility of it. Okay. And then you move on from it. But it's that bridge between, and that's, I don't know. I mean, I don't know about you, Rose, but when I was 20 years old, I knew everything. I had all the answers to every question.
Didn't we all? We had all the answers when we were 6.
Yeah. And you know what? It's funny because as I got to become an older man, I started to realize that the older I got, the smarter my father got. Okay. The interesting part about that is that this is the evolution of the human experience. And this is how it changes over time. Do I think, we're seeing a big bridge in the whole AI. Okay. And by the time the average businessman wraps his head around what AI is and it's all about, it will have changed. Okay. Instead of typing into ChatGPT, we'll be talking to it. And it'll be talking back. Okay. This is what I'm saying is that the human experience doesn't evolve at the same rate as technology. It doesn't change at the same rate as the world of business. But the one thing that does remain consistent is the rudiments of life. And you see, people talk about, business and their lives. And I've heard people say this many times, well, I'm a different person at work than I am at home. Okay. And my answer to that is, well, in one of those places, you're a liar. Yeah, because you're not authentic. Okay. People put on their game face, but your game face is not you. It's just a mask you wear. And it's funny. I just finished doing a video on humility. And as I started to do research into the topic, I started finding out things that I didn't even know. And humility is not a bad word. I mean, most people think being humble is weak. But humility is finding that it's like two sides of the same coin. It's finding that midpoint between narcissism and self-persecution. It's finding that midpoint. It's becoming a good human being that people like and people enjoy your company. And you see, when it comes down to marketing, isn't that really what this is all about? People think that marketing is all about selling. It has absolutely nothing to do with selling. It has everything to do with connection.
It does. It has a lot to do with emotion too, because if you don't cater to the buyer's emotions, they're not going to be invested in you at all.
Well, of course not. But you see, again, this comes down to, it comes back to the history books. We've all seen websites that don't emotionally engage you at all. Matter of fact, some of them are just downright boring. And some of them are disgustingly boring. And there's an interesting story with that. But before I get into that, people want to make their websites about them. And look at me, buy from me. Okay. And you see, it's the wrong approach. It shouldn't be about you. It should be about everybody else but you. Okay. It should be about your customer. Now, how does your customer feel? And most people would say, oh, how would I know how they feel? Well, it's interesting. I go out on a sales call, and that's exactly the question I ask. So tell me, Rose, why am I here? What is it you're looking for? Oh, well, I need this particular product. Great. And why do you need it? Well, my boss asked me to get it. And, he has assigned me to go and do the job. I said, okay, great. How does that make you feel? How does what make you feel? How does it feel when he asks you to do something like that? How does that make you feel? Well, I feel like I'm under the gun. Oh, okay. I understand that. And what do you think is going to happen if you can't find the solution to his problem? Well, he's going to be upset with me. And how is that going to make you feel? You see, by understanding how she feels or how he feels or how you feel, it allows me now to target in on those emotions. And from those emotions, I can drive in how you feel. Because, you say to me, you're happy. You're a beautiful lady. You got a beautiful smile on your face. Okay. And hey, you seem happy. But if I ask you why, I would have to probably drill down to find out what those emotions are that are driving the happiness. And that's going to take some work. But you see, if I can figure out why you're happy, then I can start replicating that. Okay. So now you see the question, when you ask good quality questions, you get good quality answers. And it's those answers that you get, and it does two things. One, it gives you a great deal of insight into who your customer is and why you're there. Okay. And two, it gives you the opportunity to close the sale. Because if I'm asking you really good quality questions and you turn around and you're answering those questions just like this, okay, now it comes time for me to close the sale. And I say to you, so tell me, Rose, are you ready to sign the contract now? Oh, Randy, I have to think about it. Really? do you really have to think about it? Didn't you tell me that if we got this done and this done and this done, you'd be over the top? Yeah. And didn't you tell me if we could get it in at this budget price, that would be fantastic. You'd be happy with that. Yeah. And didn't you tell me this? And didn't you tell me this? And didn't you tell me this? Yeah. Then what do you need to think about it? You see, when you do this, but you see, most people, what they'll do is they'll go into the sale and they'll say, they'll give them the pitch, they'll do their little demo presentation, whatever it is, and then they'll say, well, what do you think, John? Well, yeah, I like what I see, but I need to think about it. Oh, okay. When do you want me to follow up with you? Have you ever heard that before, Rose?
Oh, lots of times. And the point is that we have to think about it because we're not emotionally invested.
You're not emotionally invested with me. But you see, when I go into a sales call, I don't give you the product until I get you emotionally engaged with me. Then I'll give you the product. But I won't give you the close until you're emotionally engaged in the product. And I keep asking questions. And, you know, people have asked me, they say, you know, Randy, how do you know when you've asked enough questions? And I say, you know, I play the odd game of golf. Okay. You ever play golf?
No, I walked around the course once. I thought it was the most boring game ever invented.
Have you ever played tennis?
Yes.
Okay. Have you ever hit the ball on the racket? It just at that sweet spot. And the vibration just goes right through your body. And you just know it was a perfect hit. Same thing in golf. When I feel that resonate within me, I know I got you. Because I have enough information now that I can move you along to the next level. And you see, everybody wants to make sales an event. Everybody wants to make marketing event. Oh, well, I put in an ad and I got crickets. Well, I went on a sales call and I was there for 15 minutes and oh my God, the guy didn't buy. Because you're not emotionally invested. When I do an ad campaign for a client, I tell them right off the bat, you know what? I'm not one of those guys that, you know, hey, I just signed up for my ClickFunnels this morning and it's now 12 noon. And I just leased my first ClickFunnels at 12 noon. How amazing is that? And you know what? It's 4 o'clock in the afternoon. I just made $1.5 million. I've never had an experience like that. To me, marketing is all about testing and trying and testing and trying. Okay? And I think if anybody is honest about their marketing, about their advertising, about their sales, that's true. It's a true statement. Sales and marketing is not an event. It's a process. Okay? And not only are you learning, but the customer is learning too. So being the bridge of moving that customer from one side to the other, that's what this is all about.
Oh, absolutely. I totally agree with everything that you've said, because it is, if the client isn't emotionally invested in you as the salesperson, and then you can't move them to be emotionally invested in the product or service that you're offering, then the sale's not going to happen, because there's that gap there that they haven't yet jumped over.
And absolutely right. And they'll always try to put their heels on, put on the brakes. You know, it's funny because it's the emotions that drive our decisions. You know, I mean, I remember when I was a little boy, and Rose, I'm sure when you were a little girl, you know, your dad said to you, Rose, you're going to have to start making logical decisions. Do you remember that?
Oh, you used words very similar to that, yes.
Absolutely. My dad did the same thing. But there's an unfortunate part about that, and it is that human beings are not capable of making logical decisions. Human beings make emotional decisions, and then they rationalize it and reason with it afterwards. You know, it's funny. I just a little bit of backstory on me, if you don't mind. I kind of grew up around the church, and actually, I was going to be a priest, and I was about 6 weeks away from taking my vows, and I got into before you do that, though, they give you an interview. So while they were interviewing me, I was interviewing them. And I started asking questions that were, not really good to ask the church. I was talking about political times, financial times, all of which, the church just doesn't want to talk about. And as a result, they decided that it would be a good idea for me to take some time off to rethink my vocation. And I thought it was a good idea. So that was 40 years ago, and I'm still rethinking it. Okay. And but what ended up happening was I decided after that I would get into marketing. And I found out something I was pretty good at. But you know what? I had a strong background in theology. So I kept learning theology. But I was reading everything. So at that point, I'm reading the Bible, the Quran, the Bhagavad Gita. I'm reading Buddha. I'm reading everything. And I'm also reading about marketing, Russell Brunson, Seth Godin, Bob Proctor. I'm doing them all. Anyways, to make a long story short, along that journey of learning about theology and learning about marketing, the two kind of came one. And that's when I realized that emotion marketing was born for me. And it was a huge thing in my life because, you know what? I was always trained to sell by rudimentary experiences. So sell the FAB, sell the always be closing, sell that. And I realized that that's not what it's about. It's emotionally connecting with your audience.
Absolutely. Randy, it's been a very fascinating 30 minutes. I've enjoyed it thoroughly. Where can people find you if they want to find out more about you or indeed work with you?
Fantastic. I can be reached. You can reach me through my website at www.fearlessmarketer.com, or you can email me at randy@fearlessmarketer.com. I do answer all my emails.
Wonderful.
And or thirdly, you can reach out to me on social media. Okay, I'm on all the social media channels these days.
Wonderful. Randy, it's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you so much for sharing your wisdom with us today.
My pleasure.
Thoroughly enjoyable experience. You have a lovely evening.
You too. Thanks, Rose. Bye-bye now.
Bye.
You've been listening to Talking with the Experts, hosted by Rose Davidson. Make sure you have a look at our back catalogue over at talkingwiththeexperts.com, and be sure to subscribe to our podcast so you don't miss out on any episode. We look forward to your company next time. Talking with the Experts.